Right now, though, I want to welcome to the program from the Gun Owners Action League in Massachusetts, the executive director there, Mr. Jim Wallace. Jim, good evening to you, sir.
Cam, once again, welcome back to the Second Amendment battleground state. Go Celtics. Patriots, I'm sorry.
What? There's an NBA season this year? What?
It's all right. There's always hope.
Yeah.
But, we always got NASCAR, I guess. Oh, God, that ended too.
Yeah, there you go. And you won't have Barney Frank to kick around anymore.
No, hopefully not. I guess he's officially made the announcement that he's retiring. So it'll be interesting to see who now officially jumps in the race now that the congressional districts have been moved a lot. And, that's something we got to pay a little bit of attention to now, is that exactly how these districts have been changed. I know the legislative districts in Massachusetts, certainly the state Senate and the state representative districts have been altered as well. And, we're busy trying to get a handle on that. And I think the process was a little bit more open this time because, as you might remember, the last time they had to redo the districts in Massachusetts, it ended up with a speaker that became a convicted felon over the process. So,
yeah,
about that, right?
Yeah, I vaguely remember this. It is so hard to keep track of the corruption on the East Coast. New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York, it all sort of blends together after a while.
Somebody said to me recently up at the State House that, which was kind of interesting, that if you think about it, we've actually had 17 years of speakers in the House that have ended up becoming felons because of what they did in office.
Wow.
So that's kind of interesting when you think about that.
Yeah, it is. So Frank had said earlier this year that he wasn't going to resign. He was going to run again. They do the redistricting. His district remains safe, and then he decides, all right, I'm not going to run after all.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what leads to these things? I mean, there's a lot going on. One of the things you and I see and talk about all the time is, because of the openness of communication and the availability of information, politicians can't get away with things like they used to if they want to. I mean, you look it up here in my district, Congressman Tierney. I mean, his wife right now, as I understand, is being investigated and prosecuted for money laundering. So, I don't know how that's going to go with his campaign, especially with more information coming out. And he's already got, I guess, 2 Republicans that are going to run against him. So it's going to be a real interesting election coming up here.
Yeah.
And things are starting early. I mean, very early.
Oh,
so
really?
It's kind of interesting.
All right, now speaking of interesting, I got to ask you about this story in the Boston Globe of all places. I mean, when was the last time, Jim, the Boston Globe, even in the sports section, dared to write an article encouraging youth shooting?
Yeah, but if you look at the timing of it, I think all of the editors were away on holiday vacation.
And so the one pro-gun guy at the Boston Globe was able to slip it through?
Oh, no, I mean, according to the article, the person who wrote the article said they were very anti-gun, and very opposed to it. But, for somebody who's very opposed to it, wrote a pretty good article about how to get a scholarship through the shooting sports and, accepted hunting and accepted the use of firearms at clubs. So I'm sure there was some consternation, almost like they put in a disclaimer that we're going to write a good article, but I'm going to make it look like I'm anti-gun in case the editors actually read this before it goes through in the holidays.
Right. Yeah, because you're right. I mean, here's the line. I generally detest guns. Other than sports, they're the most talked about thing on television. Their carnage documented daily on local and national newscasts. Yada yada yada. And then besides that paragraph, a lot of discussion with guys like John Hammond, who's the coach there at West Virginia University, and I mean, the whole idea. I mean, how do you go? I'm really curious about this, Jim. How do you go in the span of literally 2 paragraphs to I generally detest guns to, quote, serious young shooters can also seek scholarship money from the National Rifle Association. Just one of its programs, in fact, has handed out a total of $640,000 in scholarships to 630 high schoolers since 1996. Now, if you detest guns, you probably don't want to give out that information that the NRA actually gives out college scholarships to young individuals who may or may, and these aren't even for shooting programs.
No, I suppose if you look at the yin and yang of that, it's almost like the Brady campaign, claiming they're big supporters of the Second Amendment. So, I'm not sure how that goes, but to give you another example, I mean, the Friday before the holiday week, I had to attend with Todd Rathner, representing knife rights. I had to attend a Boston City Council hearing about their wish to pass an ordinance to license knife vendors. And the law enforcement testified that for the most part, the stores who were selling to minors didn't know the law, didn't understand the law. And I got up, and when I testified, I said, certainly people, not to disparage people who work in a corner store, but for the most part, you have people who make minimum wage that are selling Slurpees and coffee, may not understand the law. And I said, well, perhaps what we need is some education here from the city. And the city councilor who's supporting the ordinance, who earlier testified that, we should be able to do anything we can to save the lives of young people through the knife violence. Once I said what I said, that we need some education, he told me that education is not the job of the government. So
wait.
Yeah.
What makes this particularly ironic is that this was in Boston, right?
Yes.
If I recall my history correctly, Jim, wasn't Boston Latin the first public school in the United States?
Well, it's kind of interesting because when we were away just for the holiday up in the North Maine woods with my wife and daughter, my daughter's in college now, and we were actually in the car trying to kind of play a game of how many colleges are within the city of Boston.
Yeah,
we just lost track.
70, I want to say it's something like 75. I think that was the number, at least when I was going to college.
It's phenomenal how many. But the fact that a Boston city councilor would actually say that education is not the job of the government. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me go talk to your school department about that.
I just found a way for us to save some money. Hey, there you go. Wow.
But it's amazing how they can flip so quickly when the issue is on the other hand. When you can save lives by education and you just simply refuse to educate people. He actually said when the industry folks actually testified that they'd be more than willing to come up with some pamphlets or something for education. The councilor said, I probably would not opt in for that. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So apparently education's out the window. Don't worry. Well, it's just like the Anti-Eagle program, right? There's many schools that won't allow that program in the school, even though it's one of the most effective firearm youth safety programs ever in the country. But they won't allow it in because, number one, it's from the NRA, and number two, it's effective.
Well, yeah, and that's again, that's a double dose of badness, apparently.
Apparently, yes.
Wow.
But anyway, getting back to the elections, I'm not sure who's going to jump in. We're kind of anxious to see who's going to jump into these races, since that district covers, quite a span of real estate, and I'm sure we'll be watching that soon. So.
All right. Well, listen, Mr. Wallace, appreciate you coming on the program tonight, sir. And given that this is the Second Amendment battleground state of Massachusetts we're talking about, I know we'll be discussing some more issues here with you before very long.
Absolutely, and hopefully we can get the Coalition of the Oppressed on the. We'll be down there the first week in January for the NRA board meetings.
Oh, fantastic. All right. Well, we'll see you then, Jim. Thanks again, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Go Patriots.